Good morning on Wednesday, December 13th. It's time for episode 332 of the 359 podcast. Your hosts today are Ben Fox Rubin and, damn it, David Katzmaier.
Damn it.
Cat's in the Cradle.
Oh, yeah. I'm here
Hello.
rocking. I'm rocking in the cradle.
Welcome back. We're going to be talking all things TV and CES 2018 today.
Already.
You just published a story about this, so that's why I wanted to have you on. As always, everybody, send in your questions and comments. We'll get to as many as we can at the end of the show. And let's try to get through as many. I have so many questions for you, so let's try to get through as many as we can during the 4 minutes, and then it'll spill over into the post show.
Yep, stick around.
All right, hang on, everybody. We're going to record the podcast and then meet you in the chat in 3 minutes and 59 seconds from 3, 2.
Welcome to the 359. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
David Katzmaier.
The CES Tech Show is coming in January, and with it, the introduction of a lot of new TV technology. I invited David on to walk us through some of the biggest expected trends. Let's start with the easy stuff. HDR, 4K, how significant are those going to be for the show?
Well, they're going to be kind of the baseline. So 4K TVs and HDR TVs, they're as cheap as $300 now. So they're everywhere. The TV industry has moved on. So CES is kind of where you see the next step beyond these technologies.
What do you think you're the most excited about as far as any of those tech?
So I'm most excited about the competition between the manufacturers at this point. So right now we have a situation where at the high end of the market, it's OLED, OLED, OLED. LG's organic light emitting diode technology is kicking everybody's butt. It is the high-end TV that people want to spend extra money to buy.
How much is it, like on average? Like how much would you spend for something like that?
Well, the cheapest price for an OLED TV actually happened over Black Friday, $1,500 for a 55-inch TV.
Okay.
That's expensive.
Totally.
But what I learned myself when I wrote this article, asked NPD, which does a lot of market research, the average selling price is $1,700 for TVs that are more than $1,000. So that coveted high end of the market, that's actually, not terrible.
Now, doesn't Samsung make OLEDs? I mean, like they're very well known for that, for the smaller screens for the phones.
Funny you should ask. So Samsung is by far the most dominant brand in televisions in the United States. They don't make an OLED TV. They make something called QLED, which came out last year, and I thought they were trying to be a little, imitative of LG when they came out with that name.
What is QLED? I saw that at Best Buy recently,
Right.
and I was like, I have no idea what that is.
Did they try to write an O and then put a little thing on it and hope nobody noticed, and maybe go home and people are like, I have an OLED TV. Actually, no, there's a little dot there across the bottom of the O. It's a Q, actually. So long story short, it's an LED LCD TV like they've been selling for years. It's not a brand new technology like OLED. The difference is it uses quantum dots, hence the Q, which kind of enhance the color of LCD. But really, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
It's
when
an
you're watching
enhancement of
and
LED.
You're not going
LCD.
to really notice. And I didn't notice. When I did side-by-side comparisons with earlier models, it's really subtle, the improvement. OLED, on the other hand, is like, holy crap, this TV really looks like a $1,500 to $2,500 TV. It's kind of awesome.
Is Samsung looking to move into OLED?
No. So right now, Samsung has been responding to this question for a long time because LG wrote the book on OLED and they've been coming out with them for a while. Samsung started actually making OLEDs, but then they pulled back and made more LCD, LED technology. One of the things that they might do at CES this year is introduce another competitor to OLED. I'm thinking it might be micro LED or actual another version of QLED that's better.
Tell me about micro LED.
So LEDs are, in lights and pretty much every lighting thing right now, they also power televisions, but they're behind an LCD, liquid crystal display panel. Micro LED gets rid of that liquid crystal display panel and just has a bunch of little dots that are LEDs that can change color. The advantage there, you can turn them all the way off so you get perfect contrast like OLED. They're brighter. It's kind of the holy grail for LED technology.
That's pretty similar to OLED. Why would it be called something different?
Well,
it's a slightly different technology?
Yeah, and it doesn't use the same types of material. So the LEDs are a different kind. So they're not organic. They're saying they're more durable. They're actually used today in industrial lighting and those gigantic signs at Cowboy Stadium, for example. Like those are all true LED displays with no liquid crystal in front of them.
So for some of the more futuristic tech stuff, voice control is something that's really growing. Do you think like gesture control is really going to grow at any point, or we're going to see some of that at CES?
No. I don't think it will. I don't think the gestures are going to go anywhere. I think it's all about voice. It's so much easier to talk to your TV than wave at it.
Oh, that's too bad. But anyway,
Yeah.
if you want to read more about these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
David Katzmaier.
Thanks for listening.
All right.
I understood about 2% of that.
I
Sorry, I
think
was
we
talking
packed
really fast.
We packed half an hour worth of show in 4 minutes.
Isn't
Way to
that-
go, dude.
Isn't that
I'm
your
gonna
job?
try and unpack right now. But yeah, there's a lot of TVs.
We didn't even get into emissive quantum dot, which I'm guessing is similar to micro LED.
Oh, it's so much fun. So instead of LEDs, they're actual quantum dots.
What is that?
A quantum dot is a real thing. It's like a little light emitting device, just like an LED, but not. They can create color and they're brighter. And the electroluminescent ones are kind of the super cutting edge of display technology. They've been, again, talked about at a level where there might be concept display. I threw it out there because QLED, when Samsung first announced QLED, people who follow the industry were like, oh, they're coming out with emissive quantum dots. No, it was an LCD with LEDs behind it that's enhanced by quantum dots. But now Samsung's been talking about in concept form, actual quantum dots, again, without the LCD in front of it. So I guess all these guys want to do is finally ditch that LCD. It's going to take years.
So all the new technology, and this is extremely simplistic, is to make tiny, tiny dots that can be turned on and off.
Yep.
And so that you've got the true black on one side and really bright on the other, and it doesn't bleed one way into the other.
That is Ben. You should do this.
Really?
Yeah, I should.
Did I actually get that right?
That was beautiful. So yeah, again.
So wait, no. Let me ask this: How does a light bright technology play into this?
Those dots are really big.
Yeah.
So we got 4K TVs. That's like 0.00004K TVs. But you know what? You can make some cool stuff with it. Smiley faces.
We didn't even get to, also, I wanted to mention streaming apps. Right before we went on, T-Mobile made an announcement.
That's right.
Let's touch on that a little bit.
So it's not really an announcement. It's kind of like, we're going to make TV in 2018. So T-Mobile.
We're going to announce an announcement.
Yeah, we haven't given you any specifics. I think there's actually a call going on right now where CEO John Lagarde is going to be talking about it, taking questions, and people are going to ask, so how much is it going to cost? Is it going to have any channels? Is it going to be like Sling TV or Netflix? What are you going to do?
It's a pay TV concept.
So T-Mobile, the phone company, is making television, just like everybody else is. YouTube this year, Hulu, DirecTV, Sling TV, which is run by Dish Network. All these guys have their own cord cutter TV packages that we cover in depth, and there's a lot of them out there. So this isn't like they're reinventing the wheel. This is like a phone company's doing this too. A phone company, AT&T, already does it because they bought DirecTV and they have a DirecTV now, which
everybody's
by the
trying
way,
to jump into it.
is getting more popular.
The field will get called at some point.
Well, I don't know. It seems to be just expanding at this point. It's an opportunity, and people looking at the traditional cable companies and going, "Wow, people really hate them. Let's see if we can make some money off of that."
Don't you think that could create a problem for T-Mobile, that like they would be viewed as a cable company and then people would hate them? They would
I don't
lose
know.
all that like edgy reputation.
Yeah, they're doing their best not to. They're using a lot of pink. There's no cable company that does that. So I think they're in good.
All right, let's take some questions from the comments section on the video today. Michael Brown, by the way. Ben, you want to say something?
Happy birthday, Michael Brown.
Happy birthday, Michael Brown. Will we be raving about buying 8K televisions in 2018? Best Buy blockbusters?
Well, funny you should ask, because another rumor out of Korea is that Samsung will be producing. Well, 8K TVs, take a step back, have been shown at CES for years. In fact, in the article is a picture of me looking really close at an 8K TV, because that's the problem, is that you can't freaking tell the difference once you get above 4K.
That's what I was about to ask.
The pixels are so small. But 8K gives you a justification, going back to LCD, for using LCD technology, because that is a big limitation of these individual diode technologies, is that you can't really get those things really small and really bright. With an LCD in front, you can get them small enough to make 8K. So all these LCD TVs.
So you wouldn't throw out LCD technology entirely.
No, and if you're an LCD TV maker, you got all this money invested in making LCDs. You go, wow, how can we keep this around? And 8K is a really good reason to do that. The problem with 8K, obviously, is that unless you're in Japan and you're watching a couple things, there's nothing. There's nothing in 8K, and there won't be for a while.
Like, how big does your TV have to be, and how close do you need to be sitting next to it?
I remember this discussion from a few years ago when 4K came out, and it's really similar because it needs to be even bigger, And you need to have even better eyesight and sit even closer
I
to
have
see the difference.
horrible eyesight.
Right. So you're fine with the 720p or the light
You look
bright.
like
Light bright
a-
television probably looks great.
You look like a giant blob to me, so I don't think I'm a customer for 8K.
So, in your experience and what you're seeing developed right now, where do you think the priorities lie between the actual quality of audio video and integrating a lot of more smart home technologies? What are you seeing?
Yeah.
What do you think they should be focusing on?
Well, I really am always been a video quality guy, but there is a point of diminishing returns. So you get to a point where everybody goes, that's good enough.
Or
Witness,
that's really good.
right, absolutely. Witness the point, the TCL's Roku TVs, which have been kicking butt on Amazon, is the most popular TV on Amazon for more than a year. And I recommend it to everybody. They're great televisions. They build smart right in there, and they do a really good job making them easy to use, and they're hella cheap. And for most people, they look good enough. So, unless you're in that 10% of the market that's buying a TV that costs more than $1,000, you don't really care about all this stuff. You just want, a TV that's going to turn on and give you your stories, whether it's on YouTube or, Netflix or regular cable.
I want my stories.
Yeah, and as long as you can do that and wash yourself with a broom on a stick, you're in good shape.
Yeah, you definitely need to wash yourself with a broom on a stick.
Yeah.
I want my MTV.
Absolutely.
Danny Green, I want to
Hey, Danny
know
Green.
when they are going to start shipping TVs with ATSC 3.0 tuners.
Ooh, so that's still a little bit far out. I don't think you're going to see any announced at CES. They just finalized the ATSC 3.0 spec. In fact, I think they're still working on some aspects of it. So that's not going to be a 2018 thing, maybe 2019. The other thing that this brings up is HDMI 2.1, which is another future spec.
I totally know what these things are.
Yeah, so ATSC is, a standard for transmission of over-the-air television broadcasts. So if you turn on your TV and hook an antenna to it, the reason you're able to get a picture is because of ATSC. So all the tuners and televisions now are ATSC compliant, and this is the latest standard of that.
Got it.
HDMI is how you plug stuff into your television. So all those HDMI inputs are going to be upgraded not next year, but probably the following year to a 2.1 spec, which gets them ready for 8K and 16K and all that good stuff that's eventually coming.
Taking this a step back for a second here, what do you see the TV market doing as far as how excited are people about these TV technologies? Are they working and actually getting people to upgrade TVs? I remember a couple of years ago there was a lot of concern that we hold on to your TV for 5-10 years, whatever.
Yep.
So is it working to actually convince people to move to 4K or QLED or whatever?
Well, I think it's working by attrition. So right now, it's really hard to find a 1080p TV of a certain screen size. If you're buying a 50-inch TV, it's going to be 4K, for example. And that's just going to continue to be the trend. And larger picture, the TV market's flat. It's not a high growth market. Same thing with cell phones, by the way. Those are relatively flat markets.
Mature
They're not
markets.
seen as a huge moneymaker that they used to be. And with TVs, all they're going to do is iterate on the technologies that they have now. And, again, try to get ahead of trends like streaming and, all these things things that are happening in the larger technology space, and integrate them in the TVs, make them work better. So one of the things I'm excited about is this improvement of voice technology, being able to talk using an Alexa or a Google Home that can control your TV. You don't need to use the remote or anything like that. You can just say, hey, Alexa, I want to watch Stranger Things, and your TV turns on, starts streaming it.
Which is
stuff like
super
that.
beneficial when you think
Yep.
about the keyboard for every single one of the remotes just stinks, and it's stunk for years.
Yeah, so
there are very few people I know that actually have a physical keyboard to operate their television.
And we're ready for voice in the living room to play a bigger role, and the TV manufacturers that get ahead of that, and more importantly, partner with the guys that already do voice really well, that are well entrenched, Amazon and Google, then they're going to get ahead.
We were ready decades ago for voice control. I can't tell you how many tutorial classes I had to give my grandparents on how to use a TV remote.
Yeah.
Roku
exactly.
does have its own voice control.
Yes.
I have a streamer,
Yes.
a Roku streamer that does that, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah, and the issue there is that you have to hold the remote.
Yes.
So what we're talking about is Alexa, is Google Home, is one of these far-field speakers that's listening all the time, ready to help you watch the TV show you want without having to.
Don't even have to pick up the remote.
You know what? back
how
in the
lazy
day,
we are.
we had to like pick up a remote. Sometimes it was across the room, and you had to freaking get up. That's ridiculous.
Hold it.
You had
We
to get
lose-
off your ass. Sometimes the remote got lost.
We
just
lose
have
the
this-
remote all the time.
I can't
Sometimes.
stop thinking about the scene from 30 Rock when Tracy Morgan's character is trying to, he thinks he's got a voice control TV, so like, television off, pornography. That's all I can think of right now.
And we can already do that.
True.
Right, apparently.
Some of your recent comments might have actually been beneficial to Jesse Gateman in the chat, who's wondering if it's worth buying a 1080p TV or should you just go ahead and jump forward to 4K as a baseline.
It all depends on the size. So, we really liked TCL's S305 series, which is their 1080p series in 43 and smaller TVs. If you're putting a TV that's smaller than that, bedroom, secondary TV, even if you really don't have a very limited space, there's no reason not to. The main thing is that you just can't find them in the larger screen size. So don't go out there, I really want a 50-inch 1080p TV because I can't tell this with 4K. I'm going to save some money. You go to the store and you're like, there aren't any.
They just stopped existing a while ago.
This year was basically a turning point for that size. And then next year they might be only 42 and lower, whatever.
Well, not only that, like you said, the pricing on the 4K and HDR TVs. $300.
Yeah,
$300. This is a pretty good price for a TV.
Yeah, for 43 inch. So and you're not. There's very little premium. Again, there's just a cutoff where 1080p is going to exist at the smaller sizes, and that's it.
Let's jump back and take some more questions. The OK Channel, how much of the TV market goes back into the actual television studios? Like, how much do they put in towards this market? How much do they invest as far as content creators? Is there any contribution towards development of new technology to deliver their content? Interesting thought. I don't know if we really have an answer to that.
I think the best answer to that is HDR. So one of the things that is happening with TV technology recently is high dynamic range, which is a kind of the thing that nobody really asked for, but is awesome. So 4K is one thing. It's more pixels, but HDR, the easiest way to say it is better pixels. And the idea about HDR is it allows the camera, which captures way more, the cameras that producers use to create movies in Hollywood, particularly these days, are freaking awesome. To get the picture that they see in their mastering studios to your house, it gets dumbed way down. So HDR is an attempt to get the director's awesome picture into your living room TV, and it's a whole set of standards that creates a much closer to what the director wants to do picture than on your television at home. So now they have a system for doing that, and HDR is exciting a lot of people in Hollywood. Netflix is really leading the HDR revolution. They have Dolby Vision, kind of a mandate for all their original series. If you go on an HDR TV, you flip through all the Netflix originals, almost all of them are in HDR and Dolby Vision. And all the new movies coming out are taking advantage of this technology, and directors love it because all of a sudden, all the stuff that they were cutting out, colors, dynamic range, which is the pop of the image, is when you have a Blu-ray that doesn't have HDR on it, it looks completely muted compared to HDR in general. So I think that's one of the bigger wins for content creators is this new HDR standards, and they're just going to keep getting more and more affordable.
Right, and that's what's interesting to me is that some of these technologies do actually signify a real improvement from your past 1080p, as opposed to just telling people, oh, the screen looks nicer.
Yeah.
Spend more money, get another television.
And especially if you can't see it, if you got to sit 2 feet away from a 65-inch TV to tell the difference, then it doesn't matter to anybody. With HDR, it really is a noticeable difference, especially because it's early days now, but they're going to get it better and better and better. And it's a great, reason especially if you're a high-end buyer to upgrade.
Yeah. Hey.
Yo.
Remember CRTs?
No.
Danny Green's reminding us, like, once upon a time you had to get off your butt and go twist a knob and further to change a channel. And for the record, Danny, I
had to do that
still
at
had one of
Grandma's
those through the
house.
90s. So
Nice.
Yeah, I remember those.
That was when I first came up reviewing TVs. We had like 34 and 38-inch CRTs. You need like
No
3
way.
guys. You put them on a wagon, to get. Sony made the flat ones, so they had the flat Trinitron tubes. So the problem was you have to curve it to get the electron gun to work. But the corners of the flat were like these chunks of glass. They're massive. These TVs weighed 200, 300, 400 pounds depending on the size.
Good Lord.
They're insane. Mitsubishi made a 40-inch CRT. So yeah, they're not really missed by me.
I had one that was close to 100 pounds, and it was in a wood box.
Yep.
And it had the rounded edge curved screen inside, but it was encased in a plastic flat panel. it's almost like it was some weird like
a protection.
Yeah, and it was a total detriment because that thing got scratched to hell.
Right.
So I'm already looking through like a filtered screen to get to the screen.
Yeah.
That thing was
You
miserable.
got to get the OtterBox replacement for that.
I left it on the porch of my apartment at college when I moved out. I was like, that's not coming with me anymore.
That's along the side of everybody's throwing out the CRT monitors and their TVs. Yeah.
One thing I also wanted to mention from your story today was there are some, maybe these are gimmicky, tell me if they are, but there were some flashy ideas from recent CESs.
Yep.
One of them was the first wallpaper TV.
Oh, yeah.
There was another one where, what was it? It was like a rollable television.
Yes.
And then a third one I wanted to get to was the screen itself was the speaker or something weird like that. Did any of those like excite you, or you were interested in them, or were they more gimmicky, kind of like let's show it off at a tech show?
So good question, because that's what CES is. For the most part, a lot of the news out of CES is concept crap that you're never going to make it to market. The two of those three are actually right now available for sale. The wallpaper TV, LG makes it. It's an OLED TV. It's literally like, I think it's 2 millimeters thin.
A lot of people
stole
were
the
excited
show.
about that in the chat.
Yeah, that was a big
stole
deal.
The show.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing ever, right? And it literally like,
Who wouldn't want that? Who doesn't like minimalism?
it's freaking awesome. And of course, it's really expensive, but that's the future of television. I think it's easy for anybody to see. And the roll-up one was a concept, but they're actually saying this year that LG might try to commercialize it. So that's another rumor out of Korea. Is
to
that
what end? I don't know.
Great question. Smokable. I'm not really sure what you do with your rolled-up television.
If you wanted to
you can
move
hit,
it,
your dog with it when it misbehaves.
that's terrible.
Speaking
That
of
poor
smokable,
dog.
let's get existential for a second.
I'm ready.
Smokable televisions. Sure.
Well, Datcher's asking, what is smaller than quantum?
Oh my God.
And Srinjoy says string theory, string technology.
We need
String technology
TVs.
TV.
You know how close you have to sit to a string TV to tell the difference?
You have to be in the string TV.
You do.
If you sit too close to the string TV, you will get sucked into it, and you'll end up in a black hole.
There's a 3D TV died, right? But with string TV, you can have 8D TV.
Amazing.
And you just keep going.
You might meet
They're
yourself.
all rolled up and really small, these dimensions, but you know what? When you can see
You're
them,
gonna meet
it's
yourself in a
freaking
different
awesome.
dimension.
That's right.
Bro.
I gotta smoke my TV.
All right, so to close it out, let's do a couple of just rapid fire ideas about where we think we're going industrially. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Industrializing.
Sure.
It is now.
Srinjoy is, should Samsung take a different route of voice assistant and push Bixby into the smart TVs, try to take a lead in the market?
We may very well see that.
It already announced it. It won't fail, just like everything else. But yeah, they announced it. Yeah.
And Michael Brown, I think TV manufacturers should mainly focus on vertical integration of audio and video. I love how Sony production shot with Sony hardware and software look really good on Sony televisions. Now, I'm not enough of a connoisseur to really tell the difference.
Yeah, me neither. But good on you if you can. Sony makes some of the best production. The reference monitor for all Hollywood studios is an OLED 34-inch TV that they use. Sony makes an OLED TV, and it's freaking awesome. And I think it's $40,000.
I mean, look where media
30-inch
creation
TV
is going with like the Amazon studios and being all pissy with YouTube, and but you can still get Amazon Prime original creations on your Amazon Fire TV stick. Do we think we're going to see more stuff like that?
Like more walled gardening, you mean?
Sony Studios special featured bonus content on Sony TVs.
Yeah. Sony doesn't have Sony is not a new tech company anymore. No. They don't have the ego to play that
Well,
game.
if you're Sony Pictures, do you want to be only on Sony TVs, or do you want to actually be on, the other 95% of TVs out there? I mean, they're two separate businesses, and it behooves Sony to be, watched by as many people as possible. But yeah, I think vertical makes a little bit of sense, but I think just working together is the thing that's proven. With Sony, for example, their televisions work with Google's Android TV, and that got them on board with Google Home before anybody else. The operating system is almost as good as Roku. In some ways, that's better. And they're really smart for ditching their own frankly crappy smart TV and going with Google's much more well-developed one that's got better apps and yada, yada, yada.
And going back to the YouTube Amazon fist fight going on right now, it's hurting the both of them. So the expectation, at least for me, is that at some point it is going to be settled. Because neither of them are winning.
It's just a pissing match. It's just a simple pissing match.
Well,
we've seen this before.
It reminds me of cable must-carries where you get the note like, oh, Verizon's about to drop CBS, whatever it is,
not CBS.
Never CBS.
They would never.
No.
Maybe Comedy Central.
No,
is a big
absolutely.
one.
Yeah. So all these guys, it's the new age of carriage disagreements.
Sounds so wonderful.
Yay, a whole
Yay.
new world. I can't wait till Roku suddenly drops Hulu or whatever. Yeah, no, hopefully,
horrible.
hopefully, yeah, exactly. Like just
Would
wait.
not like that.
All right, we are out of time. We do have one more show this week, though, and that will be the final
One more live show this week.
And that'll be tomorrow morning. Just want to let everyone know we're going to be going a little early, around 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning for the grand finale. It won't really all be all that grand. Maybe we'll have donuts or something.
We'll talk about net neutrality again.
No donuts.
Yeah, that's okay. Maybe we'll have donuts.
But
Yeah,
that'll be
we'll
the
see.
last live show. However, next week we will be putting up a couple of filler episodes for funsies to fill in the gap while we're on hiatus. But until then, Ben, let's wrap it up.
Okay, the 359 is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, and the Amazon Echo, and of course, CNET.com. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again
David,
tomorrow.
for joining us one last time in 2017.
Anytime.
And in 3, 2, 1, damn it.